Hello and welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. I'm Owain and I'm joined by Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just coming off the back of a really exciting interview with Phil Sesemann, which we'll go into in a bit more detail later. But other than that, yeah, good. Did my
Yeah.
first race in what is it, 4 months or something? Nice local 5K. Shock to the system.
Yeah.
Uh, 14:46. So about a bit slower than 10K PB pace, but it'll do for now. We'll get back
Yeah.
into it.
It's
And
a weeknight round Butte Park.
yeah, it's not quite the same vibes as Barcelona half, which was my last race, but it was still enjoyable. Nice to
Yeah.
get out. Got the win. Most important thing, isn't it? Getting a win. Yeah. What about yourself?
Yeah, sort of, I guess first maybe normal week of running post I keep saying post 100K, obviously I didn't get to 100K.
Best part of.
Yeah, did most of it. Yeah, first it's still really not a normal week, but first week while I'm getting up in the morning and a run is happening, um, and yeah, feeling pretty rubbish. I think maybe one of the first sort of bits we cover with Phil is he was talking about sort of being in a similar place of London. Obviously, he's running significantly faster than me. But yeah, right now I'm really in the weeds of sort of being like, how did I do any of this sort of running before? Like I'm so unfit. And yeah, it's sort of hard to see out of that, but I guess like just stick with it for a couple of weeks and you'll start to see a lot of progress again. So
Yeah, you just got to
yeah,
be persistent and not do anything stupid, not throw out your plan because you're yeah, or try anything crazy just because you think you need something now. It's just long-term approach. Just do a little bit more, get back
yeah,
into things. It'll come.
yeah. Just tick the
It'll
right
come.
boxes every day, even if like when you upload it to Strava, you're like, oh, it was that slow.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get there. As always, we're sponsored by Saw. Um, I'm really appreciating my Saw kit at the moment. It's not hot, but it's fairly warm, and yeah, Saw t-shirt getting warm most days, to be honest. Yeah, nice and lightweight. I think it looks pretty good as well. Um,
After a wash, I hope.
yeah, getting a wash as well.
Yeah.
And
The
yeah,
t-shirts,
once
no, I'm the same. Actually, I really like the t-shirt.
yeah,
It's like super, super lightweight, isn't it? And I, yeah, it's just you can't wear a vest every run.
no, no,
I'm too
it's
white for that. I'm too pale. Like my shoulders get burned. And yeah, no. Going and chilling in a cafe afterwards.
yeah, you
Yeah,
look
I
good as
like
well, and
you
yeah.
look a bit look. Yeah, it's a bit more socially acceptable than turning up in your sore vest.
Yeah, and once I'm back into the long runs as well, I'll have the half tights on again, and yeah, carrying all my gels. Yeah, so no, we really appreciate Source sponsoring the podcast and yeah, letting us do these really cool interviews. So yeah, check Saw out. And yeah, like we said, we just interviewed Phil Sesemann. I guess do we really need to introduce him? I think most people will know who Phil is. But he represented GB in the 2024 Olympics in the marathon. He's got a 2:08:04 marathon PB, which is the fifth fastest Brit in history. Trying to think of what else we got: 61:28 for the half, 28:10 for 10K.
Yeah.
I've got written down. And yeah, I think Phil's an interesting sort of story which we cover in terms of going from yeah competing at the universities sort of level in middle distance events and then quite quickly transferring up to the marathon. Um, and yeah, I think Phil's sort of been known, I guess, even into the mainstream because at one point he was a doctor as well. I know he's given up his doctor's license. Is that what you call it? Doctor's license.
Yeah, I think
He's not a
so.
practicing doctor, I don't think anymore. But that was yeah, he had a breakout in London, didn't he? And it was yeah, junior doctor, I think at the time runs
Yeah, junior
two.
doctor. Yeah, first Brit. Yeah, but yeah, fantastic. Fantastic athlete. I really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah,
Shares some really useful information or interesting information on how he employs or doesn't employ sports science and the
yeah,
strengths and weaknesses of that. Goes into yeah, talking about the shoes and nutrition and what it's like to be an ASICS athlete after being with Adidas for so long. So some really good stuff there. And this is part of our athlete series which we're starting. So the theme is getting on some really good athletes competing at the highest level and asking them how do they employ sports science, or how are they exposed to, what do they get out of sports science, how do they use it or don't use it to make decisions, which hopefully you guys will find interesting. Give us feedback if you've got any requests on anyone you'd specifically like to get on. We'll try our best to see if what we can do. But yeah, kicking off with a really good interview with Phil. Who's been there and run one of the quickest Brits of all time and fantastic marathon time, and lots more to come from him as well, I think. Anything else to say, Owain?
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good interview. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, hope everyone else enjoys the interview.
All right. And today we're very privileged to be joined by Olympic marathoner with a 2:08 marathon PB, fifth fastest in British history, Phil Sesemann. Phil, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, recovered from London. How are the legs doing?
Yeah, just about. I had London and then kind of 2 weeks over in Japan for a little running event with Asics, and then a holiday afterwards as well. So working my way back into the training now, and probably at the stage where you're starting to pick up niggles and a few aches and pains, but I haven't picked up the kind of fatigue from training again yet. So I'm okay this week. I expect next week will probably be a lot harder, and the following weeks, at least for a month or so, is pretty much the worst training phase, I think, of them all.
It's funny you said that. I'm having this conversation with some of the athletes I coach at the minute, and I'm personally the same. This is the worst part. Like, if I get niggles and injuries, it's this bit post marathon building back up again, and the mileage isn't that high. It's just after a bit of downtime, the body's not used to it, I guess, and those ligaments and tendons are just loose. But they like being loaded, don't they? And you have a normal. We all know how many miles you run per week. It's probably a bit of a shock to the system deviating from that normal routine.
Yeah, definitely. Like, having any time off, the body doesn't really like it. Over the years, I haven't really had any time off kind of following marathons. I kind of always kind of tick over. But had a little bit of time off following the big half last year, kind of 3 weeks post Olympics, and actually felt like that kind of put me in the best position to kind of push my fitness on over the autumn and the winter. So kind of wanted to replicate that again after London, and doing that. But it's really rough, like, this period. And often when you're when you're so keen at running, so passionate about it and love it so much, you kind of, when people say they don't like running and they just don't enjoy it at all and they don't want to do it, you always kind of like question like why they should do that. But given how I feel on these runs at the moment and next week and the week after, I can completely see why some people just don't like running. Considering like what my fitness level is now, and I'm still not really enjoying going out for runs at the moment. So I do kind of empathize with people a little bit more now.
Yeah. So the key message is just don't stop running. That's it. Just keep going every day, 365 days a year. You'll feel better. Yeah, don't stop.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Podcast over. So I mean, I think where we'd like to start back, well, probably not back up quite at the beginning, but I first met you, I think it was Bucks 2016, as when I first spoke to you in person, probably aware of you a bit before that. And you were racing with 1500 meters. And you were running like, I've just had a bit of a power of 10 stalk beforehand. You know, you were running some really good times. 141 for 151 for 800. Yeah, there's a typo there. I mean, you definitely did choose the wrong event if you were running 141. But no, 151 for 800, 340 for 15, 401 for the mile, and 751 for 3K. And I always associated you as a really good middle distance athlete. And I remember that you how did you always think that I'm going to run a marathon one day, or was it what circumstances led you to going, you know what, I'm going to give a marathon a go?
Definitely didn't. I kind of always felt that I would do one marathon and I would give it a go and I would like to tick that off. I distinctly remember kind of writing down a load of kind of short, medium and long-term goals with my running back in my fourth year of university. And the main goals were sub 340, 1500. To be more specific, it was the Blackheath and Bromley 1500 club record, which was 339.46. I think Chris McGeorge, who is kind of well known now as a coach at Loughborough, alongside his wife. And to run for Great Britain. That was kind of the two dreams that I had in running, and I really wanted to kind of hit. And then there was a few other ones. I can't remember exactly on the specifics, but I remember the marathon was like sub 220. I remember thinking, yeah, that would be like if I did that. And I think at the time I was kind of looking up to, say, John Gilbert, who's still running at a really good level now, but he was a guy I trained with at Kent HC.
First up a mass start, wasn't he? Was he first or second up a mass start this year?
I think he probably was. So, and it's probably not the only time he's done that. And around then he was running kind of 216, maybe a 215 at Berlin. And yeah, just a great guy. So yeah, always kind of like thought, oh, if he's running that, then yeah, maybe a sub 220 is something that I could do. And really thought that yeah, I'd like to do that one day. And yeah, it was probably top 10 national cross, something like that, which I've never achieved and I probably won't. So yeah, there was all these goals, and the marathon wasn't like the big one. And then it was maybe a year or two after that when, kind of as part of the Leeds Talent Hub, sitting down with my coach, and we had to fill in a load of forms, kind of these individual athlete programs that they kind of they like you, or the administrators like you to fill in. And he kind of, on the long term one, he kind of said marathon, and I was like, well, what are you kind of talking about? That's not really what we've spoken about before. And he said, I see you as kind of like a Johnny Mellor, kind of that kind of similar kind of mold of an athlete, of someone who's run pretty good 3K and run the shorter distances, but you'll probably end up stepping up to the roads, and that's where you'll be most successful at. And I was quite surprised at that, and wasn't really expecting it. But I kind of saw where he was coming from. Like I enjoyed the mileage. I enjoyed challenging myself on long runs, pushing them, going out and running hard 17 miles in the middle of the track season, even though I was a track 1500-meter runner. It probably wasn't really the best thing I could have been doing for my 1500-meter career. But definitely was kind of enjoying that side of the training. And I think as I kind of plateaued at the shorter distances, it kind of became like the obvious option to kind of step up.
Nice. And I might be misremembering this, but I'm sure we've had a conversation before about you wanting to debut your marathon at the Olympic trials in 2021. Which was a pretty unique situation because it was COVID, right? And there was a limited number of athletes they could have in the field, and they wouldn't let you in because you hadn't run a half marathon. Am I misremembering that? Or did that happen?
No, that is correct. I kind of that winter, I think the trials was maybe March time, maybe February, March time, and kind of coming off the very first COVID summer. I'd ran a PB over 5K at Podium. I'd ran a 3,000 outdoor PB. I think it was an overall PB at the time as well, at the Bromley Twilight meet, kind of finishing stone last against some really quick runs from Mark and James West and the other guys. And I just kind of, there was no races that autumn because of COVID, and I just put down like a really big block of training, and I saw kind of big improvements in like my aerobic abilities and my ability to kind of just run for like a very long time at decent paces. And I ran like a 20 miler at 5:08 miling, just with my headphones in, on my own in York, in like Hoka Carbon X's or something, which are a pretty good shoe, but they're nothing kind of to scream about. And I think after I did that, I kind of said, well, you know, what are we waiting for? Let's try and get into this race. It's pretty much the only race that's happening. And there was like a clause in the kind of qualifying criteria that said that in exceptional circumstances, we will let athletes in who don't have a half marathon or marathon qualifying time. And apparently it was I heard it was the Joe Pavey, Andy Vernon clause, just in case either of the two of them decided they wanted to go for it, because the kind of people who set the qualifying criteria were fully aware that actually both of them didn't have a half marathon within the time. So I kind of I kind of was a bit unlucky because neither of them actually wanted to do it. So then actually it was a lot easier for them just to kind of have a blanket, like, this is our qualifying criteria. And I think a few people were upset that they might have been first on the waiting list, and despite 50% dropouts, they never got in, just because of the COVID situation at the time. And yeah, the reasoning was it was discussed. They just said that no Brit has ever ran 2:11:30 in their debut marathon, having never ran a half marathon. So I was like, oh, that's kind of fair enough. That kind of makes sense. So yeah, it was a bit of a shame. I don't think I could have qualified that year. I think I probably would have crashed and burned a little bit, just given the kind of twisty nature of the course and the way it was ran. But yeah, obviously it would have been nice to kind of give it a go. But it did lead to my kind of first GB vest on the track. Just carried that form, changed the training emphasis and focus in kind of 3 or 4 weeks. And following Mark kind of pulling out of the European indoor team, I ended up getting picked for that. So yeah, it was a pretty good time and a bit of a purple patch of fitness.
Yeah. Do you reckon it was about a more aerobic focus for brought you on over the short distances?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. I would say so. Although, yeah, I'm definitely not kind of better at the shorter distances now than I was then. So, yeah,
but it's a balance, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you're never going to get really fast over 1,500 meters if you're marathon training, are you? You just can't. You can't spin every plate at once.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And then when did you eventually make your debut? What was your first marathon? London.
Yes, yeah, that was London in the October later that year. So I kind of came off that European indoors, kind of really motivated, kind of feeling like, well, everybody else here is trying to make the Olympic team this summer over 5K or 1,500. Why can't I? And I trained kind of some of the best training I've ever done. Kind of straight after that in the March and April, and ran absolutely pony in my first few races of the track season. I think I didn't break 14 for 5K at Trafford BMC, and despite pretty much running like a 14:03 through 5K and a 6K hard effort kind of the week after that or something like that. And I was doing a lot of training with Emil Caress, and I unfortunately got just come down with some kind of food poisoning the week before the Birmingham 10,000 meter trials, and wasn't able to race. And he jumped into that and had a great run, kind of 27:53, I think. It was third Brit, and that was a bit of a breakthrough run for him at the time. And kind of really felt like I was training at a similar level to him. Definitely then. Obviously, he's kicked on hugely since then, but definitely then we were fairly matched. And yeah, that was kind of a bit of a time where I just thought, like track's not going to happen this summer, and it definitely hasn't happened how I'd like it to. I've got 17 weeks now until the London Marathon. Like, let's just pivot and just go for that. It was kind of new, it was exciting, motivated, and also being fully aware that the best British guys were going to be at Tokyo, so they wouldn't be at London, and there's an opportunity there. Kind of, you have a big day at London, you have a big day kind of media, and that can lead to like sponsorships and things like that. So yeah, it definitely was a good one to kind of target.
Yeah, and I guess I was getting confused then. I was like, you went track season into London Marathon, but then that was the year that it was in October, wasn't it? Post them getting back into things after COVID. So yeah, it's a good old journey, and actually you've had lots of good marathons since, multiple times top 10 at London Marathon, and yeah, eventually qualifying at the Seville for the Olympics, which is must have been a crazy experience. What we'd love to get into now, if that's all right, is how you have used sports science, been exposed to sports science over the course of your career, and what that looks like now, and maybe what that's looked like historically. Do you want to jump into something specific, Owain?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just based off what you were mentioning with like the Leeds Talent Hub and like you said you were doing a form and sort of like, I guess, reflecting on your maybe season, but was there any sort of sports science interventions, even back then, like were you working with physiologists or anyone specific then?
Yeah, I definitely had testing with Josh Rowe kind of years ago. And that did help just like with a little bit of prescription of training paces, and yeah, that was quite beneficial. And then kind of COVID kind of put a stop to quite a lot of it. And yeah, didn't really use it too much going into that first kind of marathon build up. It was definitely a case of just kind of, I didn't really know what pace I'd be aiming for. And obviously kind of, it's always quite nice when there's like a round number. So but when you're trying to run 2:11, kind of 5 minute miling is kind of the obvious one. And now that I'm trying to run 2:6, it's kind of 3 minute Ks. So yeah, you just kind of aim for that kind of ballpark in all your training splits and stuff. But we did kind of start looking at doing a bit of testing, mainly after my second marathon. So my second marathon, well, actually my third marathon, my second marathon was the European Championships in Munich. So after that, I then did the London Marathon kind of 7 weeks afterwards, in October again. But we kind of sat down after Munich, and both coach and I kind of felt that we kind of had a good idea that you need to do a lot of running and a lot of hard running to be good at the marathon. But we were kind of slightly worried that we were kind of guessing at things a little bit. So our idea was kind of, what do we do? Do we reach out to another coach? Do we get some advice from someone who might be able to give us some help, or do we kind of really lean into the physiology side of things? And he was quite keen on that, and through kind of Barney Wainwright, Dan Snaper, Lee Beckett, they then spoke to Andy Jones, and we had a little bit of input with him. So he would kind of set the testing protocols. We would do the testing, did that a few times, and then kind of have meetings afterwards where he would kind of give his insights on the results and stuff. So I did find that useful. But I personally, I trained really well going into the 2023 London Marathon. I'd hit some really good sessions, especially going right into the taper. And then kind of 10 days out from the marathon, we did some testing, and it didn't go very well. And I think I was just knackered from the training the week before and stuff, because I'd done a lot, and kind of 135 miles, 3 really hard sessions. But it kind of affected me, kind of knocked my confidence a lot. You're kind of expecting to go and see some drastic improvements and put up some big numbers, and I didn't. And yeah, I really didn't like that. So yeah, I'd say from then I've kind of shied away from physiological testing, even like kind of looking at heart rate and stuff. And the only real input I'm now utilizing, like the Talent Hub and the physiologist for, is a lot of the heat adaptation work. Especially kind of, we did that pre-Munich, and then again doing that for the Olympics as well. And then also just kind of keeping some of it in all year now, because yeah, kind of following London this year, kind of the realization that probably only New York, Houston, Valencia, and Seville, aren't going to be hot. Every other race you step on could be hot on the day, so you have to kind of be slightly ready for that. But there also is kind of physiological gains to be made from being heat adapted, even on a cold day. So yeah, that's the only kind of stuff that we are using it for now.
Yeah, I'd love to dive into that heat stuff a bit more, but if we could just take a step back, what were you, when you were having that physiology testing with Andy Jones and Dan Snape up at Leeds, were you actioning any of those data? Were you using any of that data to inform training decisions, or was it more just a monitoring tool to sort of check in, see how your fitness was at?
Yeah, it wasn't really affecting paces hugely, but it was kind of looking at like my economy is pretty good. My VO2 max was kind of 68 when we first did it, and that's kind of not really good enough to be like a world-class marathon runner. Obviously, VO2 max isn't massively important for kind of the marathon, but it still matters. And
Still gonna be good enough. Yeah.
yeah, and it was kind of felt that actually that wasn't really good enough. So we kind of really worked on that through that autumn. So there was a lot of intensity in the training, and that kind of culminated in me kind of managing to outkick Jake Whiteman in the 3K really that winter, because I'd done quite a lot of 3K specific work. And yeah, kind of obviously having a 3K race in the calendar was really quite motivating and something to really target. So that definitely kind of informed kind of those changes and that kind of focus in the training. And then other than that, it wasn't massively kind of.
Did you ever test again to see if that influenced your VO2 max?
Yeah, so it went up to 70, I think it was 74, 73 or 74.
Yeah.
And that was the week ahead of, or maybe the week after racing Jake then. But then like a week later, I ran like a 28:58 or so 10K. So it wasn't helping me at 10K.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's physiology is very complex, isn't it? But I mean, that's an improvement from 68 to 74 is well outside of measurement error. That's a meaningful increase in your VO2 max, and maybe as distance gets longer, then your thresholds and all that sort of stuff's going to become far more important, isn't it? But obviously, and that's the thing. Racing is complex, isn't it? Like what conditions on the day, so many variables, and even a lab test. Like you said, you did a lab test into London, and actually probably still carrying some fatigue on from some big training. It's just a snapshot on one day. This is what it looks like today, and there are variables that are going to affect that.
I
really
was going to say
interesting.
I've always felt like Dan tests his VO2 max and thresholds before marathons, like almost as part of like your routine now, right? And I have always wondered like, oh, what would you do if the results were really bad, like right before, like, and for Dan as well, like it's informing his pacing as well. And I was going to ask about the pacing as well. I saw you mention like pacing strategies for the marathon, and I was just wondering, like, is that coming from physiology? Maybe not. Like you said, sometimes it's just a nice round number that you're aiming for. But yeah, is there anything you sort of work on before the race, thinking like, okay, this is how I'm going to pace it this time, or yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen the way that Dan kind of can stick to like heart rate and just use that to kind of inform pacing in the marathon and stuff. And I was actually chatting about this with my training partner this morning, Vinny, and they were saying that actually like that's the one use of kind of training with heart rate. Like it's probably not that much use for like a 5K guy to be really kind of obsessed with, like, you don't need your heart rate in a 5K race. Like that's not going to inform what you're doing at all, or it shouldn't. Whereas in a marathon it might do. But I've never really done that. I've usually just gone off the pace that I think I can probably do, because I've done 35K of that in training. So I would like to think with a bit of a taper, I can probably do that on the day. And if the conditions are good and the course is good, then no reason why not. And especially I think that was probably the biggest time for me. That was kind of in the build up to my first attempt at the Olympic time in Valencia in 2023. I'd got one of the Coros heart rate bands, armbands, during the summer. I'd been to Font Romeu. I'd been doing a lot of kind of double threshold work and tracking my heart rate through that. I came home from Font Romeu and my heart rates were the lowest they'd ever been on easy runs. And I don't have that low heart rate, but I was getting down to 121, 122, 124 average kind of thing for kind of 7-minute miling. And I was thinking, oh Jesus, I'm in really good shape here. And then I went and ran 64:40 at the big half. So I was like, well, what's this told me, kind of thing. Like, it's not told me any useful information, I felt at the time. So I just turned my heart rate monitor off after that, because I worked out that I, for the Olympic time, need to run 2:8:10, which is 3:02 per K. So I'm just going to train at those paces, and I'm going to do my long runs at that pace. I'm going to do my big sessions, my in and out Ks and whatever around those paces. I don't need my heart rate monitor telling me that it's really hard and that I can't do it, because it was like all in. That was it. It was like I wasn't bothered if I blew up and ran 2:20 at the marathon. I wanted to run the Olympic time, and that is what I was trying to do. So it doesn't matter what my heart rate is doing. I just need to just get through it, kind of thing. So yeah, I've from then and those two races, Valencia and then Seville, going well. I've kind of stuck with that kind of philosophy now, and definitely something that I'm kind of probably looking to take forward.
Yeah, it obviously works for you, and I think also it's like when you are chasing a goal it's an ultimate goal, isn't it? Like it doesn't, like you said, you don't. It's 2:08 or bust, isn't it? 2:08:10, whatever it was, or bust.
Yeah.
That's not the same for the vast majority of marathon runners who, yeah, they're going to have these time goals but ultimately they just want to run the best race they can on the day, or that's certainly what the approach that I take into it. Like for me, like, you know, it'd be great to try and make a team, but ultimately I just want to run as fast as I can, and just get the best out of myself in my day. And for me it works, but I know for some people, like, their heart rate is so much more variable, or they just don't get on with that approach. And you've obviously run fantastic times off of it. I think it's just learning what works for you, like 100%, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And I'd say that that's why you've progressed, like, gradually over the years. You've still taken chunks off, because you are every time like, all right, I need to do the best possible training block, and then I need to run the best possible race. Whereas when you're chasing qualifying times and bonuses in your contract and stuff like that, you're slightly biased towards, you may not be doing the best possible thing, but you're just trying to
you're much more influenced, aren't you, by external factors. I've got the beauty of being an amateur, Phil, is that you can just go and you can do what you want. It's great. Can we dive into a bit more about that heat stuff? And I think Owain should lead on this because this is his area of specialty, really. I mean, I'll just hand straight over to you if that's all right, Owain.
Yeah, no, I mean, just really curious what you did. I've seen there's some videos on YouTube of you and Emil in a hot tub. I'm curious what sort of the protocol was, and that's obviously passive heat acclimation. I think there's another video I saw of you in multiple layers of clothing, like on the canal. Like, were you mixing the sort of active and passive, so doing runs in layers and the passive stuff layer? What was going into that, especially Paris build?
It's horrible, like really, really horrible. PTSD kind of thinking about it, to be honest. So we would often start with a heat tolerance test. So that'd be in the chamber. I think it was like 40 degrees. Like thermometer, like everything, doing the lactate testing.
What sort of thermometer are we talking about here, Phil?
We're talking a rectal filament thermometer. Which, the amount of times it falls out, you're just like, oh, this is useless, kind of thing. So you're doing that. So it's not like the most enjoyable test, and you're always just sort of wondering, do I really need to do this, kind of thing? But you do get good information, and that is definitely something that you can kind of take forward and use. We would do that, and then obviously we would have an intervention, and that would probably be a certain amount of kind of heat acclimation sessions. Often that would be kind of 2 or 3 hot baths, which would be post training. So we would do those after like an easy run. I would probably do the easy run layered in tracksuit. Jump in the car. I could probably finish the run and be in the bath in 12, 13 minutes kind of thing. So we felt that if I just kept the heating on in the car, that kind of worked. Just drive up and jump in for say 40 minutes. The bath's probably around 40 degrees. Try and get the kind of tympanic temperature up to 39, maybe 39.5 at the highest. Once it gets above that, then you're allowed to have an arm out or stand up for 10 seconds at a time, kind of thing. And yeah, you would do that. And the problem is, you just felt rubbish the rest of the day, like really knackered. Would also do this sometimes after like a Tuesday night session. Would kind of come down a little bit earlier for the session and jump in after that. And then on a weekend when I kind of felt like I couldn't really ask the physiologist to be coming in and doing all the testing, I would go out and put a load of layers on. There was a few times ahead of Munich in 2022 where we took the kind of tablet thermometers and just to make sure that we were getting the temperature up. And we definitely like use that information because we realised that just like a couple of layers just wasn't doing it. You do really need kind of middle of summer hat, gloves, three layers on the top, two on the bottom. Really make it pretty unpleasant in order to get that stimulus to make it worthwhile. We stayed away from the heat in the sessions just because we felt that whilst being heat adapted was really important, being fit was more important. So we just couldn't kind of let the sessions go rubbish, really. And we might do that maybe 8 sessions across 10 days. And then we would then come off it or retest, see if there's been an improvement, that kind of thing. And we did that ahead of the Olympics before going away for camp twice, before going to St. Moritz in kind of April time, and then ahead of going in June to Sestriere. And then whilst in Sestriere with Emil and Renato Canova there, we would do kind of sessions. We'd do sauna quite a bit, wear layers on some of the easy days when it was pretty hot. And then we were driving down to sea levels for some of the specific long runs. So in Italy in the summer, it's pretty hot then. So we were getting some good stimulus there from doing that, which did make it really difficult. And that's like the only time I've ever seen. Well, it's the first time Emil's been dropped in a session in like 3 years. Like Zarai and Cripper ran away from him on one of the long runs, and yeah, that kind of showed him that he needs to kind of take this a little bit more seriously. And yeah, the next day we were driving 70 minutes for an easy run just so that we could get the heat stimulus proper and stuff. So yeah, that kind of changed his mentality, and I think probably really helped kind of come Paris for his performance there.
Yeah. And did you, when you did the retesting after like a heat intervention, could you just tell that it was easier, more comfortable when you were back in the heat chamber?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just felt way easier, kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely benefit in doing it, but it's whether you're still pushing enough in your training, and then it's an added stimulus, so it knackers you. And it's also kind of fairly like regimented in terms of the times that we've set and we're doing. And I like to have a bit of flexibility in my training week, and not generally sticking to like a 7-day week, but kind of being able to move things around as and when weather or how I'm feeling, kind of, or training partners availability and stuff like that. So you lose a little bit from your training by kind of sticking to that. So yeah, it's just a bit of give and take.
Did you modify the paces on your runs when you were doing those layered runs as well, or were you sort of sticking at the same pace, or were you just sort of going to effort? And yeah,
Usually same pace, because if it was an easy run or like a low steady, then you might do that. It was the ones when it was like a normal steady run, trying to run 5:20s, 5:30s, that kind of thing. They were the ones where it was really hell. Yeah, I think I was on a stag do in Bath last June. And so I thought, oh, wicked, I'll get up on the Saturday, I'll have an early-ish night on the Friday night, go home before everyone goes out, or go to bed and get up early and go and do this run along the Bristol Bath cycle path. And it was horrible. And I came back and I was easily the one looking the worst the rest of that day on the stag do, and 20 lads going quite heavy on the night out, and they all looked sprightly as anything. And yeah, it wasn't a good idea. So yeah, you do definitely have to kind of maybe adjust your paces slightly, but again, that's why I don't like doing it with the kind of harder efforts.
Yeah. And are you still doing it now? Oh, sorry.
No, go on, Owain.
Yeah, are you still doing anything now? Just like you mentioned, especially after London, like maybe needing it year round. Like what does that sort of look like if you are still doing it?
Yeah, so since January, maybe back end of December, I've probably been in the sauna 2 or 3 times a week, and doing kind of 30 minutes total in the sauna, maybe 15, 10, 5, that kind of thing, with a couple minutes off. And pushing that pretty hard and working fairly hard with that. But then I'm not doing it in runs or anything like that. But kind of going off London and kind of how that went in the heat, and just realizing, yeah, for the future, kind of need to kind of keep the heat stuff in, and also the fact I'm probably not going to altitude. I'm not saying again, but it's not going to be often, if I do get to altitude now. Yeah, really utilizing the opportunities of heat kind of whilst at home. So that's probably going to mean treadmill sessions where possible, just because being inside is just going to not have the air resistance. That's going to kind of cool you down. So yeah, utilizing those kind of all year round, and then also sauna. And then just some layered runs as well. But again, I don't want to be too specific with it, have too much of a set routine, just because I do feel like that kind of takes away a little bit from like staying relaxed and kind of enjoying your training.
So I guess the goal then is instead of just getting heat acclimation, it's trying to chase some of these hemoglobin mass adaptations, which the evidence is now pretty good that you can get the same sort of response from hot exposure as you can go into altitude. Is that the goal now,
Yeah.
I guess?
Yeah, there's definitely part of that. I haven't, to be honest, I'm aware of, yeah, some of these benefits that you can get, but I'm not too scientific about it, and aware exactly. So maybe you guys could advise a little bit more on that, and kind of say exactly what I should be aiming for. And but yeah, that's definitely part of it as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think the main difference is that you need a bit of a longer duration exposure in terms of like doing it for 4 or 5 weeks rather than like 8 days at a time. And you need to be probably doing it a bit more frequently, like 4 or 5 times a week. And I guess religion is still emerging, but we've like seen good responses with 5 days a week for 5 weeks. But all passive stuff as well, which would be, have you been finding the sauna leaving you less fatigued than doing like the heated training?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's almost, you could say, enjoyable, the sauna. Whereas the heated training is just horrid. But yeah, the sauna's good, and yeah, it's quite nice with there's quite a few of the lads in Leeds who are also a member of the same gym with the sauna, so it's a bit of a social as well. And they're all doing it, but again, it's kind of time out of the house and stuff, which is difficult to kind of get over with my partner when I've been out training twice that day, or maybe a third of a gym, and I'm then saying on an evening when she wants to go to the gym that, oh no, I'm actually going to sauna. It's good for me, kind of thing. So yeah,
so I guess that brings into how has life changed as a dad. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great. It's wicked. Yeah, absolutely love it. She's 7 months old now, so definitely challenging. When my partner Jess goes back to work, I expect that to be challenging again. But we do feel like we're in a bit of a routine now, and that generally consists of her doing most of the night shifts and putting the heavy weight, and I get some of the nice bits when she's nice and awake and nice and chilled out and stuff. So yeah, it's really difficult with the training, and anyone who's working full time and also like a new father as well. Yeah, very impressed how they managed to kind of fit in the training. And the only way I can see you doing that is with like run commuting, because otherwise, I don't know how you can kind of be out all day and then come home and then be like, all right, I'm off out for a couple of hours of a session and stuff. You can definitely see why people struggle with that. But yeah, for me, I'm really fortunate. The only real big impact has been is I haven't had an altitude camp this summer, this winter, but I've actually really enjoyed that, and have felt that no time away, no traveling, none of the difficulty in trying to recover, not having to do sessions really on my own because I'm altitude and I haven't got my coach there and stuff like that. And just being able to kind of be at home and really lean into the training here has been great for me. It's been really good.
And do you when you, because you've used altitude quite extensively in the past, would you be measuring hemoglobin mass before and after those training camps, or was
Yeah.
it always the outcome just, oh, I'm running faster times?
No, we did. Yeah, again, we did. And there was one or two times we didn't really get a result that we kind of felt, yeah, it wasn't really going up. And we were just like, well, let's just stop looking at this, because I don't want to kind of come home and feel like, I want to just be feeling fit and feeling good. And I also felt like the amount of blood that you give to do these tests, and I mentioned this to Dan, my physiologist, and he looked into it. And I think he said it was something like 3 grams of hemoglobin was given during the test. But I could go away for a month and I would only get like maybe 30 gram increase. And I was like, well, that's 3 days of being away.
Yeah, I've never broken it down like that. I mean, we use capillary instead of venous, so I know that you guys up in Leeds do venous, and that does take a bit more blood, but it's also more reliable. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you could measure everything you wanted, but it's not as easy. Like, it doesn't mean you should go and measure it.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's so many more benefits to being on camp than just hemoglobin mass. I would imagine, like, it's that whole actually going away, having a purposeful approach to training in a new environment, like mixing it up, and yeah, just training in nice places.
Yeah, but
And I've heard of other teams and practitioners who have moved away from not tracking hemoglobin mass because it's, what does it tell you? Like, might maybe you need to go a bit away for a bit longer or go a bit higher, but that's not very practical most of the time.
yeah, and I think I chatted with Renato about this in Italy in the summer. And he said that he had an event, he had a camp with some of the Chinese athletes a few years ago. And the ones who saw the biggest hemoglobin mass increase kind of ran the worst. And then some who saw no increase had massive improvements following camps. So he kind of obviously, yeah, agreed with the sentiment that it's not just the hemoglobin mass that's going to tell you whether you're fit or not. And especially for me, like, I get quite homesick when I'm on camps. Like, I really miss my dogs, I miss my partner. Like, I really train well when I'm in Leeds, and I can treat that like a training camp. So I don't need to be away to kind of focus myself. So yeah, if I'm going away and I'm not seeing kind of increases in those metrics, then I'm questioning whether it's worth it.
Yeah, I guess if you were just being led purely by hemoglobin mass increases, you'd end up with, if 10 of you went away, like a few of you had to go to 3,000 meters, and then where are you going to find good running at 3,000
Yeah,
meters or above? You can take it to an extreme. I've heard one professional cyclist that's already living in Andorra and then saying that at night he then drives up the mountain to sleep
yeah,
in a hotel. And so he's like paying for a hotel room and he's renting a place. It's like,
yeah,
how far do you want to take it, sort of thing. Yeah, if you're just looking at that one measure, whereas yeah, you get more benefit from training with the group. Yeah,
exactly.
that's yeah, that camp effect is
Yeah,
probably more important. But it's also why it's hard to do the science on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah. I hate to say this as a physiologist, but it's not all about physiology, is it? It's performance is much more complicated than that. You need exceptional physiology, and then if you've been thrown off by a poor hemoglobin mass response to altitude, and then you're going straight into London Marathon, or you do a lab test and actually it's not that great, and you've got to race a marathon in a week, that's even if maybe that was just a response of just a bit of fatigue or just not great on that day. You don't want that going into a marathon, do you?
No,
I mean,
no.
yeah, it isn't what you want. You've got to, yeah, and I like I said, I test myself before every marathon, but I just want to know the numbers. It just now it's just a routine, and it just
Yeah,
adds to my data set, and I like that. And if it's not great, that means I need to get rid of my ego and go, I need to just set off a bit more conservative than I'd hoped I was going to be able to. But never
yeah,
mind, that's what it is. Um, no, that's yeah, really interesting with the altitude there.
Do we want to talk? Should we talk London this year? So I think me and Dan have talked about this. Like yeah, I don't know what the right word is, but we talked about especially your sort of quote afterwards. I think I've got it exact here, but you went off too hard and you're not as fit as you thought you were. And yeah, have you just sort of got any more reflections? Because I think that was immediately post race. Maybe you said that.
yeah,
Yeah, how what happened? I guess how do you feel afterwards? And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I feel like I trained really well. I was really happy with how I trained. I did some really good long runs, some really good sessions. I also PB'd at 10K, well, 5K, 10K, and half marathon in the build up, which I've never really been able to do before. So I was very confident in how my training was going, and how I would do. And I did feel like if I was racing like kind of a perfect conditions, perfect pace race. So I was at London Marathon, I was at Valencia, then like a 2:6:30 was definitely kind of possible, and I would definitely be shooting for that. And then kind of going into London, it was kind of a case, well, why not kind of shoot for that there and have like that really good day. And there was going to be a few guys kind of going at that pace, who Andy Buchanan and Jacob Simonson, who unfortunately got injured just beforehand. And then also like there was fairly significant ASICS bonuses for running that time, and London Marathon personal bonuses as well. So it was definitely in my head that that was what I wanted to run. And then it was just kind of going into the race, just being like, well, I know it's looking a bit warm, but kind of coach Emil would like telling me like, no, you're fine, get it out of your head. And yeah, it's usually a case of like they know I'm stressing about stuff, and my partner as well, so they kind of just say, no, you don't need to worry about that. When you probably do, in a sense that you do need to think about it, and you do need to adapt your pace strategy to how fast it's going to go off. But I think they were just trying to not have that kind of head wobble, and just trying to reassure me. So yeah, just kind of thought, you know what, let's just give it a go. There is a group going at this. This could be an amazing day. And yeah, just not a good idea, to be honest. So yeah, that was really kind of what happened. I did have 4 days off training, kind of 3 weeks out, with a cold, which for someone who kind of prides myself on kind of really good consistency and training really hard for a very long time, that kind of did knock me a little bit, definitely in confidence. And it's, you might have fresher legs, but it's definitely going to affect your fitness slightly as well, just because yeah, you're not just got an eagle, you are sick. I would have ran if I could have, but I couldn't. So yeah, that I think that might have affected things and just taken the edge off. And 2:6:30 was probably something that was going to happen on a perfect day, perfect course, perfect conditions, and my legs feeling great. And unfortunately, when you shoot for something that's at the absolute peak of your capabilities, if it doesn't come off, then it's probably going to go fairly south. So yeah, effectively that was what happened. Really, it was a case of spending the whole first half thinking I've done long runs at this pace and this feels way harder than I ever felt in those. And just thinking, yeah, maybe this isn't going to be the day, and really battling to not step off in that first half and telling myself like sometimes you come good in the second half. But I didn't. So yeah, once I kind of got dropped, I kind of knew from then that it was just kind of a case of like you don't drop out of races, so now's not the time to do it, and kind of get to the finish and yeah, just make sure that you get there in one piece really.
Yeah, I think you gained a lot of respect from finishing that off because it looked, at least from a tracker anyway, it looks like a very hard way to run a marathon. And yeah, I've been there and done it, and it's you're the most beaten up after any marathon where what am I trying to say? You get double penalized. You come out of a time you're not very happy with, and you're also completely broken. Whereas those marathons where it goes like smoothly and you have a really good pacing strategy, negative or even split, you come out of a great time, and actually you've at least beaten up. You can be after a marathon, so it's a hard one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was, and you said, like I'm running 5:30s around Canary Wharf around the twists and the turns, and like muscly, I was just like, this is killing me. This is like really uncomfortable. My legs hurt, and I'm like, I'm only running like a 5:30 round like a right angle. Like it's not that bad. But yeah, I was really struggling through there and stuff, and it was just a case of yeah, just finish. And yeah, but potentially looking at kind of where I train in York is like there's no turns, there's a dead turn every 9K, and that's it. And because of that, like kind of muscly, you're not used to doing the turns or any of those kind of small accelerations or decelerations, and whether I need to add that into like the conditioning to be ready for a marathon, yeah, potentially for the future.
Well, that's the other thing is once you are, if you've gone out a bit too hard, all of these little factors are amplified, aren't they? Like you go out too hard in a normal marathon on a normal day and it's in good conditions and it's bad, but you have the heat at the back end of London, that just magnifies everything. You throw in some twists and turns, but if you're not used to them, that is going to just you've got much less wiggle room to play with, haven't you? If things aren't going well and you're already in a bit of a hole, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard event, isn't it? It's a hard event.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it's enough.
yeah, it's a what do you enjoy do you see yourself as a purely a marathoner now, and do you enjoy the marathon more than you did when you were competing at the shorter distances?
Yeah, I used to really enjoy 1500s. I did really like doing those. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the marathon. Like hugely, it's like a mint event to do. It's just I think one of the best things is like you can generally get into the race that you want to get into. Um, there's generally like loads of pace groups that you can go with, or you can find a race that's going to have a pace group going at the pace you want to go at. You're usually like running around like a city, and there's a load of hype, and there's loads of support. Compared to kind of some of like the track races you might have gone to, where yeah, the atmosphere's a little bit dead, and you might struggle to get into the right race, and someone has to take the pace, and no one really wants to, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really do enjoy kind of racing the marathons. But I think more so I enjoy the training. Like absolutely love kind of just banking big weeks and
Yeah,
just
your training is very impressive. I mean,
thank
you
you.
talk about like good run, like doing some really good long runs. I went out for a 40K, hard run around Cardiff. I think I averaged 324 a K, heart rate good. I was well happy with that. Then I look on Strava about an hour later on the same day you'd done a 40K at 305 a K or something like that. And I was like, different gravy, just like not the side, just a complete different spin on it. But no, you had some very impressive sessions, and your training volume is very impressive as well. And do you, I guess, diving a little bit into your like training philosophy, like obviously high mileage is you value that quite a lot, or it look from your Strava graph, it looks like you value that quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely maintaining high mileage kind of over a year, definitely, and especially through a block, just keeping it up as kind of high as possible, really. I think, yeah, I was pretty high this year, kind of sitting at like 140 for the most of the block, and doing a few weeks at that through December and January as well. And yeah, I do definitely think it helps a lot. I think one of the big things with like my training is like I will optimize my sessions as much as possible. So I will move sessions because of the weather. I will move to get training partners. I will almost always be behind my coach on a bike. So that does make a big difference. Like you can run pretty close to like marathon paces by doing that. So it can kind of it could give like maybe a false sense of confidence into kind of what shape I am in. But also yeah, it probably looks whilst yeah, they are like impressive sessions. It would look more impressive than it actually is, kind of thing. Like what it's not 19 seconds per K quicker than what you've done with. It might be 15 seconds quicker, really, realistically.
Yeah. Regardless, it's very impressive. Um, but you've obviously responded really well to that sort of training, and from what I see, it doesn't look like it changes that much over the course of a year. But you've still, like you said, you've PB'd in 5K, 10K and a half in the last 365 days. I is would you say that's accurate? Like your training does seem to be high mileage and actually lots of really big sessions.
Yeah, I was probably around 120 through kind of September and October. I had a down week when Frankie was born, and then I was pretty much
Did you have a day off? Did you have a day off when he was born?
Yeah, there was a couple of days off. Yeah, there was. It was a 50-mile week, I think, no sessions.
Yeah.
And then I was straight back into it with kind of 130 for like 6 weeks in a row. But I was meeting Emil for like my morning runs. I'd do a few sessions with him, but mainly kind of morning runs I would do with him because he had a few illnesses and injuries around then. Yeah, you kind of ask him like, oh, this is when he was training full time, and he was like maybe in the 140s, maybe up even 148 kind of thing. So yeah, you kind of be like, oh, I feel like I've done 132 last week. That's pretty good, and he'd done 148, and honestly, you'd feel like you'd done nothing. You'd be like, that's so much more. Like it's exponential. Like it's huge. So yeah, it's all about who you're kind of surrounding yourself with. And yeah, I don't look at kind of 130 and 120-mile weeks and feel like that's a big week. I'd put, if anything, that's like a slight down week, really. So yeah, for me, it was a case of I'm going to be at home. Where I run is really flat. I'm on the canal towpath, so actually I can do really high mileages, and if I don't break down, then there's some big benefit in doing that.
Yeah, I guess and you've built up to that over years as well. I guess, haven't you? You've not just jumped into 130-mile weeks. And
No,
yeah.
It's taking a bit of time. Yeah.
And how do you anchor like where that mileage sits? Is it just as much as you can do while still putting out the sessions, or you go in? Or is it right? Emil does 148. I need to be at least at 140.
It is generally like as much as you can do while still doing your sessions, but you also need to have like a number that you're aiming for. I feel like because I don't know if you've ever found if you're aiming for a 100-mile week and you decide that you're not going to hit that week, you won't do 99. You'll end up doing like 89 or something. Like you'll actually be quite a fair chunk off.
Yeah.
So even though like you're picking like an arbitrary number just to aim for, it really does keep you accountable. So I do find like if I say I'm doing 140, I will make sure it's 140, and that just kind of brings up every day. Whereas if I say, oh, I won't do it this week, honestly, you'd be down at like 122 or something. Like you'd be miles off, and you're like, well, actually, no, that's too much off, kind of thing.
It's not worth getting out of a door for 122, is it?
No.
No, I know. I completely get what you mean, though. I completely get what you mean. It does. It's just so, yeah, it holds you accountable, doesn't it? And it's about psychology around it. And if something really bad, if something would force you to stop running, like you're cold, then you can't do anything about that, can you? Right.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you can squeeze in a few more miles and be all right. Shall we? I'm interested. Go on, Owain.
I was just going to say, you just while we're talking training weeks, you mentioned the gym and some strength work. What sort of stuff are you doing, and like how many times a week are you adding that into the mix as well?
I endeavour to do one session per week. But it's definitely the first thing in the training that goes. And especially since Frankie being born, it was the one thing that I would kind of say, okay, like the option here is I go to the gym in the afternoon or I have a nap, and I need a nap because I've only had 6 hours of sleep during the night or something like that. So yeah, that often would kind of go, but then I probably have had more niggles and injuries through this block than I've ever had before. And each time they've occurred, I've been in the gym, I've done the rehab work, and my body seems to respond really well to that stuff. So it is a kind of nice reminder to not neglect the gym and stuff. And when I'm there, it's probably an hour, a bit of mobility in the warm up. Usually it's some trap bar deadlifts, maybe some kind of hamstring bridges, a little bit of core work, a little bit of glute work, and then isometric calf holds, and then some bent knee calf raises as well. So yeah, it definitely the last year and a half, I probably haven't. I wouldn't say not tried in the gym, but I've never gone there and been like, I'm trying to really push myself here. I probably am putting the same effort into my gym sessions as I'm putting into an easy run in a sense. I'm just usually looking for like movement patterns and just kind of get the body moving a little bit. But yeah, I'm definitely not trying to become really strong. I'd say I do kind of hill sprints once a week. So that might be 4 to 5 to 6 times kind of, well, 9 seconds if I'm quick, 10 seconds if I'm not. With like a kind of 1 minute 40, 1 minute 50 walk back recovery at the end of like an easy run. Yeah, and I do find that they're like you're developing power there. And yeah, I do think that that kind of it's not a substitute for S&C, but it's like an additional S&C session, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense for you because like what we know about you is your economy is really good, and so that's what, in terms of performance, like that's what S&C seems to give. I think it's a bit different if you are a middle distance athlete and you need to be able to sprint really fast in the last lap of a 15. Uh, but actually, how much force do you need to output as a marathon runner? Like, it's quite submaximal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas injury prevention, yeah, like great, and you can probably get a lot of stuff from just going once a week. I'm the opposite of you. I've got great VO2 max economy in the hole. So I'm trying to be a bit more targeted with that, if looking for those marginal gains. And yeah, I hate the gym. So I've been pretty much twice a week, every week since Jan, and it's nearly tolerable.
Good.
And I'm only doing like 40 minutes because I don't think I need much exposure because I'm so useless at it. But yeah, it's about balance, isn't it, between what do you need as an individual, and actually if you're putting out such high volume and juggling other stuff, then like that makes sense as a thing to drop, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah.
And it doesn't go on Strava, so you don't get your nice line graph, and it doesn't contribute, does it, to the
No.
get into that mileage. Should we wrap up with some talk about shoes and Asics? How you're finding the transfer to a different brand, because you were an Adidas athlete for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, yeah, 3 years, just over 3 years in their shoes. And then yeah, been in the Asics shoes since January. Yeah, really, really happy. It was definitely a case for me with like this next stage of my career is kind of really important for me to have good shoes, be able to be competitive. Yeah, it might be kind of when you're 40 plus and you take the contract over the shoes kind of thing. But for me now, yeah, it was definitely a case of make sure that they're really really competitive, and I'm never going to feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Yeah, for me, it's a case of trying to work out which shoes are the better ones for me, between the Metaspeed Sky and the Metaspeed Edge. I have tried the Metaspeed Ray, the really lightweight runs, but they are very lightweight, and they're also quite a lot softer. So just kind of implementing them in the middle of a kind of marathon block probably isn't the smartest idea, just kind of with Achilles and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that you can kind of start to work in now a little bit. But yeah, for me, the other shoes are, yeah, they're really good.
So, but the rate, is that marketed as like a shorter distance shoe, or is it supposed to be? I'm not quite sure what the gap is
I
supposed to
think it's
fill
a
compared to the
I think
the
it's a
Sky on the
marathon
Edge.
shoe. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
marathon shoe, and it's just really lightweight. So for people who really kind of value that, and yeah, it's like their premium kind of shoe, really.
And have you done any like economy testing in the different shoes, or you just been
No,
trying them out and seeing which one you get on with and like?
no, it's literally a case of yeah, put them
Yeah.
on. What are my splits like that day? How does it feel? Yeah, I think my worst session of the build up was in the Meta Speed race. So I was like, well, that's that decision made. But that was only because I was just knackered from the 40K the week before,
Oh, yeah.
most likely, and ran a good 40K, the one you were speaking about in the Metaspeed Skies, and was like, I think maybe I'll wear these for the marathon. I'd race the Metaspeed Edges at Barcelona and at Valencia. But then, yeah, there's some stuff I don't put on Strava, and some of that stuff went really well in the Metaspeed Edge. So, yeah, that was what I decided to go with in the end. And yeah, it didn't pay off. So it wasn't like the run was
Yeah.
really good.
So Sky next time, is it? Yeah.
I'm definitely considering it. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I will be. I've got a few pairs fresh of the new ones, the Tokyo version. So I'll be trying those out on some of the longer runs, and yeah, considering kind of switching over. We'll see.
Yeah. And did you try the previous the Paris versions? Have you
Yes.
how the is there much of a difference between the Paris and the Tokyo?
Yeah, I feel like they're a lot better. I do
Yeah.
feel like they are. I couldn't tell you exactly what feels better about them, but yeah, I definitely feel like they are just like a little bit lighter. They look better. They just, yeah, I just feel like they're faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you found, or do you think you could do the same training if you didn't have access to the super shoes for like a 40K long run?
Ah,
Like,
no, yeah, no
no.
way, absolutely not, kind of thing. Yeah, your legs would be absolutely beat. I mean, I pretty much wear super shoes if I'm on the 6 minute miling now. I would put them on, and obviously, unfortunately, I'm not paying for them, so it doesn't really matter if they're not lasting very long. But yeah, that's the way I'm kind of looking at it now.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think that's definitely one of the, well, it seems to be one of the advantages, isn't it? That you could just tolerate more load. And then in terms of your easy mileage shoe, what are you going for there?
I wear the Super Blast 2s. And yeah, again, they're almost like a session shoe that some people like them for. But yeah, I wear those, and then I would wear like the gel Nimbus if I'm really plodding around, kind of thing.
Again, both of those are pretty cushioned, aren't they? And gonna hopefully
Yeah,
help you tolerate those easy runs a bit better, and just the general pounding you get from the high mileage that you're doing.
yeah,
You need to get in the lab though and test out your economy in each of those three and get some numbers on that. I do think that is a window where sports science can make a pretty big difference, because I'll get people who tell me, yeah, I love this shoe, and they come in, that's the worst shoe. They're the worst shoe, like noticeably, in terms of their economy. And it's
yeah,
also the trade-off, where one of the things that gets criticized is, like, rightly criticized, is that you look at economy for 6 minutes a couple of times in a shoe. How does that translate to 20 miles deep into a marathon? Don't know. But
yeah,
you need to be comfortable in it, and obviously, and be able to handle 40K runs in it. But you would get that from training. I just
yeah,
um yeah. But no, it's nice that you got options. It's nice that you got options.
yeah, yeah. I am fortunate.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, and anything else?
Maybe just really quickly, what sort of nutrition are you doing for your big sessions, and then even in the marathon? Is that
That's a
anything
good one.
you've worked on with physiologists or nutritionists?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm mates with Josh Rowe over at Morton, so I'm quite lucky that he's sent me stuff for years. So I use the Morton 320. I don't do a session without a carb drink. I make sure that I'm always really well fueled. And then yeah, I would definitely be fueling throughout sessions really. If I'm on a long run that's steady and I haven't got kind of bike support, then I'd just be taking the gels with me, and just make sure I'm fueling through those. Sometimes I might even fuel on like an easy run, because if I'm going out for 20K and I had breakfast 3 or 4 hours beforehand, then I just make sure I've got something to kind of get me through the back half and kind of kickstart that recovery. In terms of other fueling. I've used the bicarb stuff when I've kind of had like a VO2 kind of focus for sessions, 2400s off a minute, that kind of stuff. I used that ahead of Barcelona half and Valencia 10K. And yeah, all the races I did, Telford, Podium 5K, Sheffield 3000 indoor, everything that I did since the Olympics really. So pretty much anything that's not a marathon, I'll probably be using bicarb for. And then
And you tolerate that okay?
Yeah, I tolerate it fine. I've had a few times where I'm a bit burpy, and I had one session I went to Manchester indoor back in November, and yeah, my stomach wasn't good that day. But I still got through the session completely fine. It was just before and after. I wasn't too good. So yeah, usually that's fine. It does leave you like a little bit dry mouth and like kind of a little bit not hungover kind of feeling, but like yeah, like a bit of a headache afterwards, I find. So yeah, it's not the nicest feeling. So yeah, I kind of only do it when like necessary, really. But I do
And
find
the other disadvantage is it tastes like garbage, doesn't it?
yeah,
It tastes awful. I mean, personally, I think it tastes awful. Like getting it down is the worst bit.
It's not great. But you just kind of get used to it and stuff, and it's just like sometimes it's quite a good thing because if you've had breakfast and then it's just like an extra bit of carbohydrate as well before your session, so potentially that's where some of the benefits coming from, that you're just really well fueled going into your session. And then I also use beetroot shots. So I use those. Used to use those like really ahead of every session, but now I kind of probably maybe just the big sessions, and then definitely like the races. I would do kind of the protocol with 5 or 6 days leading in with those, building up the levels. So yeah, I think that's what I'm doing on a nutrition perspective. I have got those Nomino shots. They've sent me some of those, so I'm looking forward to trying those. But yeah, I haven't sat down and kind of read through the protocol exactly yet, so I haven't started using those yet.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing all that with us. I guess just last thing is, what's next? What's happening in the next 6 months? Can you got any spoilers for us?
Yeah, I've just got a spot in the Morton 5000. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that in July 11th. Before that, hopefully if I'm feeling ready, I'll jump in the 5000 at the London 5000, that Highgate kind of event on the 4th of July. So that'll be good fun. We'll do that one. That'll probably be track season, I expect. And then just depending on kind of Font training camps, whether I do go or don't go, I might jump into Antrim half. And then I'm then planning to do Copenhagen half, hopefully Brazov 10K in Transylvania, October 4th, I think it is, or 5th.
I've been to Brasov, but it's a nice town.
Wicked. Sounds good. So yeah, I'll go there and try and run quick, and then I'll be looking at a couple marathons in the winter. So yeah, just waiting on them to kind of okay that I want to do both and stuff. So I won't say which ones yet, but
you gave a bit of a hint on your Strava, but yeah, we won't discuss it here.
Yeah. So it'll be that, and yeah, maybe another one before that. So we'll see. I don't want to have my kind of similar to London. I go and smash a really good 35K or 40K, and I just think, why don't I just do a marathon that day and like run a little bit harder, recover a little bit better afterwards, and at least I've got kind of a small PB to show for my block rather than the big kind of home run that I wanted to hit, really.
I'm looking forward to finding out a bit more about that in the next few weeks. Well, thanks for giving up so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And best of luck with the training for the next few months.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, no problem at all.